Hi, it's Guy here, and this is a Diamond Heartfire transmission. And I'm exploring this morning meetings. So I want to look at how we are in our connections with each other, how this happens, what goes on for us, how we do our meetings, and how we are being inside of our meetings. So meetings are happening all the time, on all different levels. Often when we think of meetings, we think of relationships or dating. But a meeting can be anything, any kind of meeting, with our children, with colleagues, friends, strangers on the street, any kind of meeting. So I'd just like to explore with you something of how we are inside ourselves when we meet other people. Because it's fundamental. Basic relational skills, our relational intelligence as human beings is essential for our survival and for our well-being and for our celebration. So the quality of our encounters with each other in many ways defines the quality of our experience in life. So what happens for us when we meet other people? If we look at it on all different levels, so look at our biology, what's happening in our chemistry, what hormones are shooting around our bloodstream, what emotions are firing off, what sensations are we feeling, what thoughts are we having, what images are being produced, what words are being expressed. So many different levels of us are firing off when we come into contact with other people in other situations. Just wondering, do we take time to examine and to question and to look in and discover more of who we are being in the encounters that we're having? So what starts to happen when we look in, when we look inside? Well, something which seems fundamental to most human beings is that we meet people through various filters of belief, through filters of expectation, through the stories we tell about the world, through the stories we tell about each other. So then the question rises, are we actually meeting the other at all? Or are we meeting a tainted version of the other through our expectations, through our beliefs? So maybe taking a moment just to address what it is that we project onto the others when we meet them in the encounters, and also to be in consideration what other people might be projecting onto us. So exploring what it could be to actually have an authentic meeting. What would this look like? What would this feel like? What would the quality of this be? To really meet heart to heart, being to being, without the story, without the filter, without the interpretation, without the expectation, without the you should be this or you should be that, or you're acting in character or out of character. So there's that dropping in to actually our most intimate space, our heart space, our space of being, our space of presence, and listening and looking out from there. So right now, as you're listening to this, it's like we're meeting. And how are you meeting me? How am I meeting you through this communication? How available are you to just be in your present state of existence without all the filters of it should be like this, or I recognize a guy like this, or I know him from here, or any of the superimpositions, to actually receive directly presence to presence. For this surely is where the magic of life is actually happening, in the present moment. This is where the gift is unwrapping, right here and right now, if we can actually drop into this moment and actually be here. So just by remaining here, you can start to notice thoughts come up, beliefs come up, interpretations come up. As distractions, they try and pull you away from presence. And sometimes it's entertaining to follow them and say, oh, I know you, or I know this, or I know that. Because we're desperately trying to grab onto something from the mind to get some sense of security by cataloguing the other. So a sort of sense of status quo. If you appear the same today as you did yesterday, then I think I know who you are. But that knowledge is a static thing. It's like we're dragging along this suitcase with all the memories in of the people we know, and we keep relating to each other through these memories. But the real juice of the encounter The real joy of the encounter is actually meeting in the present moment. This is where the gift is actually unfolding. So there's that sense of dropping the story, dropping the expectation, just not being interested in it, just being curious, being like a child, being open-eyed, open-hearted, open-minded, so that when you actually encounter another person, you're really available to meet what is. So often we project our fears of what the other should or could be, or we are carrying our own embarrassment or lack of confidence or lack of self-esteem because we fear ourselves. So we're denying ourselves to just fully show up in this present moment, and really just hang out together. This takes some act of courage to step away from a habitual way of being, which is used to interpreting the field of experience around us. So becoming much, much more interested in just purely being here, recognizing that here is where the magic is unfolding. Here is where the juiciness of the encounter is actually happening. Because look at the alternative. If you go into a meeting carrying a story, if you go into a meeting pretending to be a certain persona, a certain character, then you set yourself up to be that again in the next time you meet that person. So you get into this gameplay, into this mask charade, where each time you show up you have to invent and reinvent this character to sustain what you think the other person wants to see you as. So we keep modifying our actual state of being into this pseudo-self to meet other people. Then there's a tremendous energy invested in dressing this character up every single time. It's almost like we have to remind ourselves which is the character for this encounter with this person in this situation. It takes a tremendous amount of effort. And all of that effort is moving away from our authenticity, our natural state of presence. So let's imagine that somebody likes you because of this persona that you're presenting. Let's imagine that you go on a date and somebody likes you because of this character that you've constructed, this humorous character or charming character, or whatever character it is that you're playing through, that has seduced the other into liking who they think is you. But they've really fallen in love with the mask. Then you keep going to this mask relationship, and maybe they're wearing a mask too, so two masks meeting each other on a stage, acting out relationship. Nobody really home. Nobody really daring to step in and say, hang on a minute, let's undress ourselves, let's take off these costumes, take off these masks, and really show up in this moment, naked, vulnerable, intimate, present, real, and really allow yourself to feel what is actually happening in the encounter. So this takes some courage, and to break these habits or addictions, these compulsions towards knowledge, thinking that knowledge makes us safe. Knowledge just interprets this wild divine space, and for me knowledge is useful as a description of the nature of reality, but the menu is not the food. Great saying by a teacher called Ramtha. It's like the description is not it. So we have to go beyond the description, beyond the story, beyond the invention, and actually dare to just be here. As you start to rest more and more into this present moment, you start to realize and feel this vibrancy of life. You actually start to feel this natural radiance which is occurring. There's a natural intelligence here, a natural love here, a natural state of kindness, a natural state of being unflowering. It has a certain perfume, a certain fragrance to it when we really allow ourselves to fully show up. So all that effort, sustaining the story, sustaining the personality, sustaining a whole field of memories, this gameplay we get into, eventually it has to crack open, because the truth wants to be known. And the truth is not another story, it's not another version of the truth. The truth is a living, dancing, vibrating, experiential phenomena, which is occurring moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. It's called life. The truth of life as it's actually happening. So here is a deep invitation in our meetings. And I mean this in terms of meetings with everyone and everything, not just our intimate others, not just our family and friends. What's it going to be like to actually show up fully and meet existence from presence? Not through the filters of story, through the filters of belief or mind or habit or history, but actually to show up as a human being. So there's the invitation, just to really allow yourself to show up from being and to notice and to feel and to sense and to see. And really just allow yourself to savor in the quality and the deep trust that in presence, life is flowing, life is moving, life is here now. So it's very nice to meet you today, and hope you have a beautiful unfolding day and follow that perfume, that nectar of presence, that fragrance of the heart as it flows and opens into your day. Bye-bye.